The essential things are invisible. Open up your ears. Animals haven't yet revealed the secrets of all the ways they communicate through sound. All around the world, researchers and specialists in bioacoustics are trying to decode the secret languages of animals. Searching for both sound and meaning. Let's plunge with them into the extraordinary universe of the sounds of nature. A little mammal that can talk. That may sound a bit fantastical, but no. Bioacoustic studies have proved that animals do use forms of language. They've also developed what has long been considered a sixth sense, a perception of sounds that goes far beyond the ability of humans. From the largest to the smallest of them. From the shyest to the noisiest. Land animals do a lot to make themselves understood. One thing's for sure, they've all got something to say. In the Kalahari Desert, between South Africa and Botswana, a small animal of the mongoose family appears at dawn. The meerkat. He has a careful look around before leaving his burrow. He's brave, but not reckless, and he doesn't want to run into one of his many predators, on the ground or from the air. The birds of prey and the jackals are the ones that scare him the most. If all looks clear, his day can begin with a bit of sunbathing, a daily ritual. One by one, the meerkats let out a little call. They all agree it's okay. The group's scout, though, remains wary. One presence doesn't seem to worry him. That of Marta Manser. She's a professor of ethology, and she's been studying the acoustic communications of meerkats for more than 20 years. So they'll accept her. She always arrives with a song.
One thing the animals really seem to respond to is if we talk to them in a very calming way. And so we started to really, whenever we were close by to the meerkats or when we approached them, to use this habituation humming song. And we just more or less say, it's all fine. So they associate that call with us being no danger and it's all fine. Vigilant, moving.
In 20 years of experimentation, scientists have discovered the astonishing extent of meerkat language. Their little cries all sound the same at first, but behind them lies a treasure of communications. By following them without disturbing them, the scientists record and describe their behavior and their calls. They observe them as they dig the earth in search of food. As in single file, they clean out the entrance to their burrow. Or as they rest in the shade. Everything we know about meerkats thus far is due to the scientists at the Kuruman River Reserve.
Hello. How was your morning?
Here, all the animals are scrupulously identified, named,
Not too much in Lysoline either.
and closely monitored in order to analyze their behavior and the different types of vocalizations they use. Research began here in 1993, and there are now about 50 researchers who are studying the animals. Meerkats have nearly 30 different types of vocalizations that they use. It's a record in the animal kingdom. Most of them are alarm calls of incredible precision.
Within the alarm calls, we find a different call type for aerial predator and a different call type for a predator approaching on the ground. We also have a different call type if they encounter a snake. So we have this information about predator type, but also how close the predator is. So if the raptor is still far away, we have a different acoustic structure in the call than if the raptor is very close by.
Self-help is the norm in the animal world, especially in meerkats, who live in a particularly inhospitable desert where the risks are numerous, as are the scorpions. They're lurking there with their venomous stings. Ready to pick on a victim. If they tangle with a meerkat, though, the hunter turns into the game. And the meerkat's favorite dish has met its match. Meerkats are naturally immune to a wide variety of poisons, including that of the Kalahari scorpion, which is highly toxic to humans. The team of scientists led by Martha Manser regularly conducts the most classic experiment in bioacoustics, the playback. They play sounds to the animals through a loudspeaker in order to observe their reactions. Today they're going to play an alarm sound from a meerkat warning its fellows of a medium-intensity air hazard. Bird of prey approaching at a distance of between 200 and 500 meters. It's a combination of information that resembles a basic form of language. As soon as the sound is broadcast, the whole group suddenly stop their search for food. They rush for the nearest burrow. They don't go in, they just stay on the alert for the approaching predator. They've understood the message very well. The danger's coming from the sky, but it's not imminent. They can go back about their business. But then the scientists send out an alarm cry. The reaction is different. The group all flee to the main burrow and rush straight inside.
And this really nicely shows they know exactly from the alarm call that the danger is coming from the air, that they have to run immediately to the next bolt hole, and not that they just look around. They don't have that time anymore. So we have a really nice response here that confirms what we thought about this alarm call.
In both cases, structurally, the cry is the same, but its intensity varies according to the danger.
And that's more or less what we also have in human language. We have information very specific about the context, what's going on, but we also can pick up on the voice of a person, whether the person is aroused, whether it's angry, whether the person is happy. So we can more or less also pick up things like these here in the meerkats.
Now the danger seems to have passed and everything's back to normal. The lookout's still watchful though, on the alert and ready to yell out in case of danger. It's back to scratching around and looking for food. Meerkats live their daily life based on elaborate and complex voice communications. It's not the same for all animals. For a deer, for example, communicating is not at all a subtle business. The beginning of autumn is the mating season. It's the only month of the year when deer can breed. Time is running out. Throughout the forests, in the evening, the stags start calling. It's a competition to get the most attention. The males all want to attract females by being the loudest. It's called belling, and it's also to discourage rivals. And if their belling's not fierce enough, they have to use their antlers. Getting noisy at mating season is not the strategy of the mountain goats, though. Near the Swiss-French border, an audio naturalist looks out over a sea of clouds. Like a photographer or a musician, Boris Jolivet records the most beautiful sounds from animals and the very best soundscapes. And here, with the mountain goats during their mating season, he's got a front row seat. Today his plan is to record a very special sound, one that few people have ever heard.
We all know the bellowing of a stag, that really powerful roar that can carry so far. The deer and the mountain goats, though, have a sound that's surprisingly very weak, a tiny little bleat. It's surprising because they're still powerful animals and they're quite big. They can emit powerful sounds. The mountain goat will whistle, and sounds we can hear from afar. But at rutting time, all we get are these very small, very light sounds. There's one right there, 30 yards away, not far away. He's eating.
Boris has mastered the art of listening. He's one of the few specialists who can record such delicate sounds. He knows how to get as close as possible to the animals without disturbing them. During the rutting period, starting in mid-November, the male mountain goats set out in search of a female. In the morning, they go down to the meadows to feed on fresh grass. And it's there that the males confront each other. Their funny little bleat is barely noticeable. Yet just one bleat can be enough to provoke a duel. Often one of the two males will run away, and there are endless chases. Once the duel is over, the females will allow the dominant males to approach them. "24 or 25 weeks later, in May or June, the kids are born. They'll stay with their mother for a year until she next gives birth. The bonds between mother and kid are very strong. They provide an education for the little one and guarantee the continuity of the species. Across the Atlantic, in Alberta, Canada, young fawns follow in their mother's footsteps. In these vast expanses of grassland, food is plentiful. It's a privileged living environment for many species of deer. Susan Lingle, a professor in the Department of Biology at the University of Winnipeg, conducts nature experiments that highlight the incredible maternal instincts of the white-tailed deer. Now, along with her team and a lot of equipment, including pepper spray to guard against attack by bears, she's going to carry out an experiment in the field. The researchers will observe the behavioral responses of deer to different types of diffused sounds. It's a lengthy and detailed process of information gathering.
So is the speaker ready to go?
That speaker's ready to go. Cords wound.
Great.
iPod, check.
Our field work takes a lot of time. This is largely because we're working with wild animals in this natural habitat. On average, we'd probably end up with maybe 1 to 3 trials a day. And really, before you can say whether you're getting a consistent result, I'd probably have to present 10 different mothers before I would know whether they're reliably responding to that sound. So Kelsey, you could just cross the road and head down the gully on that side.
Okay.
We'll go walk over on this side and get in touch once we're down the hill. So, I do.
Kelsey Saburaki discreetly handles setting up the speaker, while Susan and Rebecca set off for higher ground, where they'll direct and film the operation. It has taken many years of experiments to develop a way of approaching these timid animals. Early on in her research, Susan Lingle observed how quickly and effectively females responded to distress calls from fawns. Their reaction appeared to be guided by a very strong maternal instinct.
Okay, Kelsey, do you read? So the deer is still bedded. I think you can continue to crawl into place.
Today, Susan will be broadcasting different types of cries, screams, or rather sobs. She wants to observe the reactions of females to distress calls produced by babies of different species. Everyone's in place now, and the experiment can begin.
Understood. Kitchen about to begin.
Okay, Kelsey, that's a good spot to put the speaker.
The first sound broadcast will be the distress call of a baby seal.
Are you ready to begin the first seal call?
The reaction is immediate. The female rushes to the speaker with great precision. When she arrives there, she finds nothing, so starts looking around her.
Are grunting.
Other females start to arrive.
Females from the right.
They're clearly very worried.
We found remarkable similarity of the cries of infants from different species. For example, from deer to seal to ground squirrels to humans. And this similarity is so much that the deer mothers will respond to the cries of different species as if it were their own infant. That was a white-tailed deer. That's an elk. This was a fur seal pup. This high and very short call was made by a young marmot. This is the cry of a human baby.
The plain here in Canada is now filled with the sound of a human baby crying.
Susan, I got my eye on it.
Understood. Call began.
The doe seems equally worried. She responds in the same way as when she hears a baby fawn.
It suggests that these cries are similar enough that it really triggers the same physiological and kind of emotional and behavioral response in the deer mother. So what this suggested was that the infant's cry and the response of the caregivers has been sort of shared and conserved over evolutionary time. And so by evolutionary time, I'm talking about species from which deer have been separated for, say, 80 to 100 million years. That's the last time that deer shared an ancestor with, say, a ground squirrel and a human.
This amazing discovery reveals that there are families of acoustic signals shared by many species. A baby crying is one of them. We're still in Canada, this time in Manitoba. What we're hearing and seeing is an amazing little squirrel. It's called the Richardson's ground squirrel, and it lives on and under the ground in family groups. Hunted by a large number of predators, 70 to 90% of the young don't survive beyond their third month. They're easy prey. One specialist in animal communication, James Hare, has a soft spot for this small mammal. He's been studying it for decades now, and no one knows the secrets of its language better than he. He's shown that to protect itself from predators, the prairie squirrel has developed a very elaborate alarm system of cries.
We look at calls they produce in response to different, predatory threats in the wild. We can then look at how the signals themselves vary relative to various aspects of those threats. Do they change because it's a terrestrial or avian predator? Do they change based on the distance to those predators? So we look at the variation in the calls as a way of animals encoding information about those threats themselves.
Just like the meerkats, their seemingly simple cries actually contain a lot of information. Warnings about the different types of predators, and about the distance and location of the danger. In conducting a large number of playback experiments, James Hare made a surprising observation, one that highlights the eminently social nature of the rodent. It can recognize the voices of its fellow squirrels.
They know if it's Joe, Bob, Ted, whoever the other squirrel is who's calling. And they use that ability to recognize individuals to weight their response according to how reliable those individuals have been in the past.
If a squirrel just yells non-stop and indiscriminately, it won't be taken seriously. Whereas if it's a squirrel known for its accuracy, the response to the warning calls will be immediate. The prairie squirrel doesn't react just like that to a warning call. It checks its sources. This little genius has more than one trick up its sleeve. And James Hare is returning to the scene of his most incredible discovery. In 2004, he was working with a group of prairie squirrels, recording their responses to predators. During one recording session, an event changed the whole course of his studies.
And so I went out to my site, and I was wearing, in much better shape at the time, this tan-colored Biltmore hat on my head. I ran at the squirrels, and the squirrel stood up and looked at me like, What? What are you doing? It didn't call at all. And I was really frustrated. And so I had my hat in my head, I took my hat off, and I went, threw it on the ground, I went, ah, like that. And the squirrel stood up, looked at the hat, not at me, looked at the hat, and started going like this. Opening its mouth over and over again, and no sound, but a whisper was coming out. I thought maybe she was sick, some sort of squirrel laryngitis. And yet then I realized, it opened my eyes to the whole thing. Hold on here, she's producing this call that I can't hear.
Like bats, the ground squirrels emit ultrasound. And it was somewhat by chance that James Hare discovered their silent cry. A cry that only a squirrel can hear.
Here's the silent call of the Richardson's ground squirrel, and I'm playing now, and there it is. You didn't hear it. That's right, because it's ultrasonic. We cannot hear ultrasound, right? Anything beyond 20 kilohertz, right? For, those with good hearing is totally inaudible.
You have to slow down the sound to hear it. But when you do, it sounds straight out of a horror movie.
It's like nails on the proverbial chalkboard, isn't it?
But what is this silent cry actually for? The scientist has a theory. It seems it's a slightly different warning call to the others. The higher the frequency, the less it carries. So the signal could be used to alert individuals in a nearby environment. Squirrels never move far away from their main burrow. The warning call could be intended exclusively for members of its family. What's more, most of their predators simply can't hear ultrasound. So the squirrels could be secretly reporting a danger. Like spies communicating on a secret channel, squirrels use a frequency undetectable to most of the animals around them. The mystery of the silent cry has been resolved. While the squirrel uses ultrasound for its secret communications, other mammals emit other types of sounds inaudible to humans. In Namibia's Etosha National Park, many groups of elephants live a carefree life at a safe distance from poachers. The pachyderms fill the savanna with their powerful sounds. They trumpet, they cluck, and they growl. Here, near the Mushara watering hole, they've been studied for more than 25 years by one of the world's leading elephant behavior specialists, Caitlin O'Connell. She knows them all, their names and personalities, their behavior, their social organization, and also their incredible long-distance communication skills. Elephants can locate herds moving tens of kilometers away and can hear distant trumpeting. How do they do it? It's not their big ears. They're used to ventilate and cool their bodies. It's not because of the infra-bass tones, which they can hear, but which fade away in the air. Caitlin O'Connell has revealed that elephants can hear over great distances with their feet. It's a unique ability in the animal kingdom.
When an elephant vocalizes, they produce this very high sound pressure level signal. So what that means is that they're a very heavy animal, and they're producing this sound that's like a mini explosion. It hits the ground, and it travels across the surface of the ground. So not only is it a low frequency signal traveling through the air, it's also a separate signal traveling through the ground, and their feet can pick up these signals.
To prove this amazing ability, the scientist and her team set out to install a shaker, an instrument capable of sending sounds through the ground. It's linked to a speaker that can reproduce very low frequencies. The installation is able to recreate identically the trumpeting of an elephant by air and by vibrations in the ground. Traveling through the ground, the sound moves slower than in the air, but it goes further. The elephant's feet function like stethoscopes. Thanks to cells that are sensitive to vibrational movement, they can feel and interpret signals emitted up to tens of kilometers around them. Their trunks are also equipped with these cells. So elephants can receive and transmit sounds through the ground. This terrific discovery could explain why elephants all flee before an earthquake. They may well feel the beginnings of a seismic tremor and can thus escape when there's a tsunami coming. The elephant's excellent hearing is coupled with a hypersensitivity to vibrations. And this incredible capacity to listen has given Caitlin O'Connell a new idea for an experiment. She transmits the sound of a female in heat to a rutting male.
Okay, so now Smokey's at the other edge of the theorem. I'm gonna wait. See, what we want to do is prove that what we're doing is the thing that causes him to turn around, so we wait. And he's now getting to the northwest clearing. So I'm going to play the signal again. Okay, so he was fully walking out, and as soon as he heard that signal, he stopped, froze, and now he's turned sideways, and he's walking back towards the speaker. He's coming in, and he's also checking the ground, smelling the ground as if he missed something, and now he's coming back in. This is really exciting for us to be able to show this kind of effect.
By directing the elephant from a distance like this, the scientists found a simple way to bring him back onto the reserve. Rutting males, who tend to escape from the park searching for females, can now be brought back so they're safe from poachers. It's one more tool for the preservation of animals that's thanks to bioacoustic research. The elephant invented long-distance communication by subterranean vibrations on a completely different scale in the world of insects. Vibrations are also a means of expression. Where the human ear detects nothing, scientists have discovered that insects produce sounds of very different types and forms. They can also hear very well both their fellow insects and their predators. A group of butterfly hunters, for example. The butterfly has no intention of being caught easily, even for the sake of science.
Some butterflies have ears right at the bases of their wings, and they use them to listen to predators. So butterflies themselves don't make sounds, but they have very good hearing, at least some butterflies do, to detect predators so that they can fly away.
Jacques is the world expert in the study of sound in insects. She was the first to show that some butterflies have ears. She's been a professor at Carleton University in Ottawa, Canada for 30 years. Scientists here are listening to sounds that no one has ever heard before.
This is a caterpillar called the hook-tip moth caterpillar, and the older ones actually go through rat battles, and they're just like rat battles like M&M. They drum, they scrape, and one of them wins the leaf, and one of them leaves, and they don't bite, they don't fight, they just ritualize signals, so it's very cool.
To record these incredible sounds, scientists use a laser vibrometer, an instrument that can take very fine measurements of vibrations. A kind of acoustic microscope that reveals sounds only insects can perceive.
What we find is that almost 50% of the caterpillar species are making sounds. And until now, people thought that caterpillars were silent. And so it just goes to show when you start listening for things and looking for them, there's a lot out there.
Up until now, our knowledge of insect sounds has been limited to the buzzing of bees, to the singing of cicadas, the chirping of crickets, or the annoying whine of mosquitoes. All sounds audible by everyone. The reality, though, is quite different. Even the most silent of insects are very talkative when you know how to listen to them. Jacques' team are past masters of the art of recording the sounds of insects. They've discovered that when young caterpillars live in colonies, to build their silk thread shelters effectively, they have to communicate a lot.
What do I think they're saying to each other? I think they're saying a lot of different things to each other. So they start going, rrr, 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 and other caterpillars start coming. Then once they're together, they have to cooperate and build a shelter. And so they use the acoustic communication to call and say, I've got a good spot on the leaf, come and help me build a shelter. So some of them are definitely recruitment signals.
In such a new field of study, any research is a step into the unknown, and every discovery is a revelation. Bioacoustic work on caterpillars has shown that they don't only use vibrational sounds to communicate. When attacked, they can produce other types of sounds too.
Some of the big silk and hawk moth caterpillars make defense sounds, and they actually have at least 4 different mechanisms that they use to make sounds. One of them is clicking with their mouth parts, mandibles. Another one is vocalizing, just like us. They've got like almost like vocal cords, and they go ah when they scream. Some of them make sounds which are followed by a chemical defense. So they vomit. They go click, 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 what? Click, 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 what? And the predator knows, okay, when I hear that sound, don't touch it.
Jacques has for a long time been listening to creatures even smaller than caterpillars, like the beetles that live under the bark of trees. Living there in the dark, they're obliged to communicate with sound.
Bark beetles, they are one of the major pests of forests around the world. They kill all kinds of trees, and they live right underneath the bark of trees. But what people don't know is that they are highly acoustic. They are making very complex sounds and vibrations to mate with one another in space, call their offspring. It's very, very complex. No one knows anything about it. So these are bark beetles, and we catch them in a Lindgren funnel trap. They're attracted by a lure that mimics the pheromone of the beetle and the smell of the tree. And then the beetles are alive in here. We collect them, we can put them in our hand and actually take them and listen to them and hope they don't go in our ears. But they're making sounds right now. They're cute.
These little beetles produce sound by rubbing their wings on the hard part of their abdomen. By exerting a slight pressure on it, she can make the insect produce the sound and records it. This signal can be issued in case of an alert. And by changing its rhythm, it can also be used to attract females. The sound world of insects still contains countless secrets.
So these are all really, really exciting areas to kind of like probe into the secret lives of these insects, but also to discover new things that other people can take and, use for biotechnology and pest control and that kind of thing.
For instance, scientists could create revolutionary hearing aids through bioacoustic study of the ears of butterflies. The study of animal communications has only just begun. The potential for new discoveries is vast and offers a glimpse of the incredible diversity of languages that are still unknown.
I can hear one just down there.
For centuries, Homo sapiens thought he was the only one who could express himself. The decryption of animal communications has put paid to that notion. Bioacoustics finally puts man back in his place as one animal among many.